So you won't just be hiring me, you'll be hiring my agents that are
Yes.
specialized to empower me.
And I'm thinking about all the IT and security and HR and
Mhm.
legal ramifications that come from that. And it's quite significant thing to think about.
And so do you think it will happen? Work is no longer what humans can do alone. It's about how we can collaborate with AI to create something greater. AI agents are stepping into the spotlight, not as replacements, but as partners to amplify creativity, efficiency, and impact. But how do we design workflows and workplaces where humans and AI truly complement each other? Today, we're joined by Jeremiah Owyang, founder of the AI startup event series Llama Lounge, and also the general partner, AI Investments at Blitzscaling Ventures. Together, we'll explore AI agents, the concept of agent fleets, and how managers and leaders can intentionally design for human AI synergy to unlock new opportunities in the workplace. Jeremiah, welcome to the AI+HI project.
Thank you, Nicole. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here because you and I we've known each other for a while, and you were very early into talking about AI agents and really educating people and investing in AI agents. And so I'm eager for our audience of HR leaders to understand more about what that is because it's definitely impacting and coming into enterprises. So, could we start out? I'd like you to just break down the basics
Yeah.
for our audience about AI agents. And so, like one of the things we've seen with our surveys at SHRM, we do a great deal of research, and we found that 42% of US workers say they're not familiar or have only heard of AI agents, but they don't know what they are. So can you explain what is an agent? How is it different from bots or traditional automation tools? And sort of like what's happening with agents?
Great question. We hear it a lot. Certainly one of the top questions. And an AI agent, and I interviewed the actual builders, the CEOs that are building AI agents to combine and build this definition. I have a background in
Mm.
market research. So, an AI agent is a software application that can sense the world around it or inside of an application or data or maybe even enterprise apps. It then determines the actions it should take, actually completes those actions, which, by the way, large language models can't do, and then it can improve over time. Now, the really advanced AI agents, especially in the enterprise, they work with other AI agents. So they actually work like a team. And those sometimes are called agent swarms. So, as a metaphor, think of AI agents as a group of perhaps junior workers that are completing tasks in coordination. But unlike humans, you can have hundreds, thousands of AI agents, and they never sleep.
And something that you said that I just want to double click on for everyone. So, one of the things Jeremiah mentioned is the difference between an AI agent and an LLM. So, your LLMs are ChatGPT,
Mhm.
Claude of the world. And so, so when you're on those systems, it's different than what Jeremiah is talking about. And so, Jeremiah, why are agents considered a revolutionary leap in technology? And how you shared how it's sort of like a team or a swarm, but like how do they make decisions, self-task, learn,
Mhm.
collaborate? Like what is going on?
And to pick up on your first question is like, how are they different than bots? So
Mm,
bots tend to be what we call deterministic. It means that they do the same action every single time. Now, AI agents are slightly different. They're called, oh, this is complicated, but they're called non deterministic. That doesn't really help. But it means that they will have a different output or an action depending on the situation. Just like today, if you ask GPT or Claude a question or maybe Gemini, you'll get different responses each time. It'll be just slightly different. In fact, AI agents, they figure out their tasks because they actually go to those large language models like Gemini, Claude, or GPT to actually determine what they should do. So just like a human worker will always have a different type of output, and it's never always the same. Well, maybe in manufacturing, that's how AI agents are slightly different. Now, what we're seeing is that AI agents are being used often in operations, in finance, in supply chain, and often in customer care. Some of the top CRM companies in the world have named their conferences Agent Force, really trying to push this. And they're using it for customer care, sales functions, marketing functions. And we're seeing that any repetitive task that's being done digitally is typically the first step where AI agents are actually completing those tasks in the enterprise.
Well, and you spoke a little bit about an agent swarm or agent fleet. How does that work inside of an organization? And how do you envision, that working over the next couple of years and then maybe 5 years from now?
This is all very nascent. I think the adoption levels of agents within companies is definitely single digit percentages. It's still very low. And I think in most cases, we're seeing trials and just a few examples of ROI being done. A couple of there's hundreds of these companies that are providing these agents for enterprises, and they're being used to solve very simple tasks right now. For example, there's a marketplace called Agent.ai, which HubSpot offers. We're investors in Crew AI. There's LangChain and then Salesforce. There's so many companies offering these. And there's very simple tasks where you can have an agent sort through your emails, or you could have an agent completing market research and filling out a form and to share it with the team, or an AI agent to collect information and build a report from around the enterprise and then share it with all the employees or with other agents. So, right now, those are the simple tasks that they're being used to do those things right now. But
Okay.
over time, we'll see them complete more and more advanced tasks. They'll be doing them autonomously. You'll have swarms of AI agents completing tasks separately from each other, and they'll be working 24 by 7. Now, what does it mean to the average worker? Every average worker can use these tools. Many of them offer no code agent tools. So it means that an individual contributor will soon become a manager. Every individual contributor becomes a manager because they'll be managing these junior workers, AI agents, to complete the task to get their job done. Some of the companies that I've been working with and investing in, specifically in San Francisco, they're called AI native startups. And some of them have 10 AI agents per one human worker. And there's this phrase in San Francisco called a 10x worker. So imagine that every single employee has 10 junior AI workers that are completing these tasks on their behalf. So it functionally means that your workforce will 10x, even though your headcount could remain flat. Just this week, we saw that the CEO of Walmart said that employment is going to stay flat because they're going to be using AI to bolster all their teams. And we've heard the same from many other tech companies.
hmm I saw some interesting research out of MIT, and it basically was that the better human managers, like people who are better at managing humans, were actually also good at managing agents in the way that they approached them and the way that they thought through questions, gave feedback, and that sort of thing. And so I wondered, if everyone is going to be a 10x manager and not everyone knows how to be a manager, are we going to have to train people how to manage AI agents so that they'll be able to do that really effectively?
That is absolutely a new skill that I think most workers do not have. So, how do you manage remote workers would be a parallel skill set,
Mm-hmm.
setting up task flows and goals and having check ins, and also monitoring their work to ensure they're doing the right thing at the right time and towards the right goal. So, ensuring that a first level manager skill set is spread across the company is probably a key strategy to deploy.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone is quite thinking of that because anyone, any organization that doesn't have just sort of, management in general across the organization and teaching that in some way, once every employee is 10x, there's an element of that, something specifically, of course, for AI agents, but just the process, like you said, of checking in and all of that is
Mm-hmm.
not something that we teach everyone today. Ah,
That's
interesting.
right. And it's
Yeah.
also managing. So, one Our technical advisor, Parth, he has multiple swarms of agents completing tasks while he's sleeping at night. And this is an interesting story. Around 6 hours into the project, they both completed their tasks separately, and they started to thank each other for the remaining hours, which cost him money. So he had to build a new AI agent to become an arbiter, a referee. So you actually have to be a new skill set he had to develop is figuring out how to manage different groups that are interacting, but also working independently. So yes, this is a new skill set for everybody.
And one of the things that I heard in one of your talks is you sort of described what you think the ratio is going to be of humans to agents in an organization. Would you share that with our audience?
Yes. So right now we're seeing that's 10-to-1 ratio for these AI native startups. Those are startups that have very few employees. It's kind of hard to count though, because some agents are ephemeral and they only last for a few minutes or a few hours. So it's really challenging to actually count. But there's this another term called a primary agent, and this is the one you interface with the most. We'll probably have a handful of those in our lives that we'll be interacting with, and then they'll be hiring or recruiting other what we call execution agents to actually get tasks completed. I believe that you'll have as many primary agents in your life, beyond work, by the way, as you currently do email inboxes. You might have one for your personal, you might have one for your work, you might want to have it from your
Mhm.
career, and your employer might issue a primary agent you'll interact with, but it would be revoked after you leave your employer.
Well, though, let me ask you a question about that. This is a conversation I had with Chris Fernandez, who is the CVP of Microsoft, who ran their internal AI transformation for HR, and then HR did ran the process for the rest of the organization. And one of the things that he's written about is that in the future, we will, certainly our companies will issue us agents, just as we get issued different forms of technologies and credentials. But that, if I'm hiring, let's say like if you're hiring me, Jeremiah, you're not just hiring me, you're hiring the agent system, the agent fleet that I have built up around me, my version, like, Nicole's version of Parth's system, and that I'll be bringing those with me to work as well. So you won't just be hiring me, you'll be hiring my agents that are
Yes.
specialized to empower me.
And I'm thinking about all the IT and security and HR and
Mhm.
legal ramifications that come from that. And it's quite significant thing to think about.
And so do you think it will happen?
For organizations that are open to this AI first culture, yes. But for finance, government, healthcare, military, probably not going to happen for a long time and probably shouldn't happen. I think that you need to have guardrails and safety where that information is going. And many of these agents, the human workers may not know what the agent is connected to. I think that's a danger for enterprises to be aware of.
Hi, everyone. It's Nicole Bradford, SHRM's executive in residence for AI+HI. Are you looking for how you could get more hands on with AI in your day to day work? Well, exclusively for SHRM members tuning in today, we've got a very cool bonus, an AI demo that takes you step by step through solving a real world business challenge. If you're watching, just click the pop up link above to jump right in. You can also find the link in our show notes. Remember, this demo is only one of many benefits of being a SHRM member, so don't miss this opportunity to get some practical ideas and level up your AI skills. Now, back to the episode. I could go down so many other questions, but I'm going to stay on track. So now that our audience has a good understanding of what an agent is, let's talk about how they work and how they can integrate it into day-to-day HR work. So, can you explain how you've seen or heard of organizations? And I know it's early, but integrating AI agents into the workflows in a way that really supports collaboration and strategic thinking, and maybe even a little empathy.
Sure. The example I know best is Crew AI, which is a company that we invested in. I spent a lot of time seeing how they're integrating into large Fortune 500s. And at the highest level, the AI agents have to connect to your existing systems, and there's a number of ways to do that. There's software services like Composio or Paragon that you can connect your agents to your traditional SaaS software, your CRM, your databases, other tools as well, and connect to your large language models. That's step one. The next thing is that each worker can have like a drag and drop workflow. It's no code in most cases where you can literally drag. I'm going to have this agent connect to my CRM and pull up the customer records. And when this type of question is asked from a customer, it'll figure out who they are and it can respond back with the customer care information. And it can do that dynamically on its own, like an autonomous worker, just like you would hire a customer care worker. Next, you would also have observability. So agent observability is a key function of these platforms. So you can see, what did it do? Is it being efficient? Is it right? And you're tracking it. And then as you combine multiple use cases and workflows together, that's called agent orchestration, where you're using all of these in combination. And then your workers, your humans, your colleagues around you, they're also doing this as well. You need to figure out how do those all work together. So that's exactly how I'm seeing that workflow. And it should probably sound like, how do you onboard an intern or a junior worker or somebody who just graduated from college? It's a very similar process, giving them keys to enterprise systems, showing them the goals, the processes, and managing their work and checking in to see how they're doing. It should sound very familiar.
Mhm. And how might this actually improve human to human interaction? So like that empathy and collaboration piece. How does it change the way people work with people having these nets of agents around us?
That's a question that all of tech is asking and trying to answer. And the thought is, if AI agents can do the laborious tasks around us, we can have more time spent together. And in fact, even these companies, these AI startups, they are still hiring enterprise salespeople to go and talk to the human buyers and prospects. That human connection is still needed. We still see the CEOs of these startups on stages or hosting events or hackathons or being with people. The thought is that you can have more time together if the operational and back of office things can be done. Secondly, with AI, you should be able to look up your customers' preferences and needs and anticipate what they need and offer that personalization at scale. Even if it was the first time that you've ever interacted with them, you give them a higher level of customization to what they need. So I think those are the opportunities. There's also an interesting dynamic within Silicon Valley. On average, there's 200 in-person AI events per month, which is an indicator that the culture that is, quote, AI native, that is building these systems, they physically want to be together and to talk and to meet each other. And I think that bodes well where the future could be headed for every single company.
Mhm, mhm. What are some of the ethical and tactical challenges that HR leaders specifically, like a moment ago, we were talking about data sensitivity with agents, and lots of security people have talked about, how challenging AI agents are. But for an HR leader who has an audience of employees and they're thinking about things like transparency, accountability, alignment, like what are the ethical and tactical challenges, and what should they do? How should they introduce it?
Whoa, this is a deep topic that, even from leadership and AI culture and how you're communicating to your employees, how they're reacting to this. And I've been reading the press releases and announcements from every CEO, how they're addressing their shareholders and employees. Um, that's a big topic, and how they're training them. There was an MIT study that found that 95% of enterprise AI projects failed to go into production. One of the causes was the lack of training or support from the humans, or it wasn't aligned to their workflows, or the workflow was brittle. It didn't align to how people actually work. So there's a lot of processes that haven't really happened yet. The security issues are true, and also over dependence on big tech yet again, running these systems, and the information and where's it going, plus the security issues. I think that is an example of all of these things. But there's also opportunities too. So what we're seeing in the tech space, in the AI space, is that companies are showing high degrees of revenue productivity, and happy to talk about the upsides as well.
Well, a quick question on that too. When you were saying big tech, one of the things that we've seen, because here at SHRM, we're really looking across the world for the determinants of, of failure and success, because organizations really, it's sort of like just as all of humanity, we all pandemicked together, we're all learning how to AI together over these next years. And so different organizations have different approaches to their AI implementations, how they're doing it. And it looks like, to get to ROI, there is a combination of being really focused on um, context, customer, and culture of that organization. So when you were saying sort of like the over reliance on big tech, are you sort of speaking to that you have to have your own solution? I mean, not I don't mean build your own LLM, but it's like you have to take the next step into your workflows and your needs and your customers in order to get there. Could you unpack that a little
Yes,
bit?
great. And also being very careful about one of the core pieces of value of your company is the data, your proprietary data.
Mhm.
Don't hand that over to big tech and let them train their models off you. Then you're forever dependent upon that. That is such gold, your customer data, your product data, your operations data, and your human resources data. So just be careful about giving any more to big tech. They already have tremendous power over enterprises. So in general, I do want to see companies have that level of independence. This could mean on-premise software. This could mean that they have full license over their software and the AI agents in the future. So just being really careful not to be over dependent, I think, is really critical.
Good. Well, and thank you. And so now I want to move into that upside and really AI agents as co-creators. Right now today, uh, a not insignificant amount of many HR tasks are repetitive. And so, we have HR leaders who are at the same time on the front lines of AI adoption in organizations because they're the ones that do the fluency. There's HR. I mean, there's AI coming up in all the different service systems from recruiting all the way to like every step. And so they're in the rooms. They're in really successful cases. They're tightly partnered with the technology teams. We've even seen, for example, Moderna has given Tracy Franklin. She now is not only the CHRO of Moderna, but she is also the chief digital officer.
Oh.
And so she has all of the like internal, employee facing AI responsibility and
Mhm.
how the organization actually becomes, an even higher and higher performing organization. And so our audience really wants to understand, like, where do they fit in with this and how do they think about it? Like, how is it going to be a co-creator for them or change the nature of work for employees over the next couple of years? And they might not be at the place where they're the ones making the decisions on what software is used, but it's like, how should they, really lead into it and think about it so that they can create a good outcome for HR teams and employees and their organizations?
So I'll break this into maybe three sections. So there's like operational HR functions, and then there's culture and leadership, and then there's thinking about the business itself. So I run an event called Llama Lounge, which is an AI startup pitch event, and I choose 10 companies, thousands apply, and we've had lots of HR startups on stage pitching. Whether it's recruiting or being on the other side applying and then helping them with interviews or even onboarding, people are using AI agents to help with that, or maybe it's in their daily tasks or operations, or even people are writing up their team reports using AI, or even offboarding employees. So I'm seeing AI being applied to every single business function and use case, not just in HR, but every department. It is just overwhelming. There's 40,000 AI projects. So there will be no shortage of technologies that can support your business processes. But number two, I want to talk deeply about culture and leadership. In fact, I'll be giving a TED talk at TED AI on this topic. And I attend 3 AI events in Silicon Valley every week, and I host a very large event to really understand the culture. And I'm watching carefully how leaders are communicating about this. And let's be really clear, employees are scared of AI, most employees. And you need to carefully craft how the leadership is going to communicate this and then bolster the skills and then reward or remove talent that doesn't fit that where the company's going. And it is quite dramatic and traumatic to see how people are reacting to this. And so a lot of thought needs to be given to this. There's even terms that are being used. We see traditional companies saying that we are AI forward. It means that, yeah, we're going to use AI, but humans are still important, and we'll just add this on to existing processes. And in many cases, it's a euphemism. Now, companies that are more bold, they're saying we are AI first. And the leadership, the CEO talks about that. And they say that every task that we need to do, we will use AI first. In fact, if there's a problem, we'll find an AI off the shelf, get that work done. If we can't find it, we'll build it. And then only third would in that process would we hire a human. Therefore, you must prove that an AI cannot do that job before we open up another job rec. And then there's AI native startups that are coming right out of Silicon Valley. Like they're built this way from the start. And so a lot of thought needs to be given to the leadership, and HR has tremendous sway over executive communications and how that rolls out in the culture. And I think that's critical because it impacts how AI will be used when you're talking to customers, the way that products will be built. And that leads to the third section is thinking about the overall business. Now, first caveat, there's many ways to measure the success of a business: customer engagement, customer satisfaction, market share, profit. The main key metric that we're seeing right now in the AI space that's really bubbling up is called revenue per employee. And this is a direct cause and effect from AI. So the most successful AI companies have an extremely high revenue per employee metric. We've never seen it like this before. So for the average traditional software company as a service like Salesforce or Adobe or thousands of small companies, the average revenue per employee is around $200,000 revenue per year per employee. For the top 10, by the way, like the Facebooks and the Salesforce and Adobe, and they're at around 500K to 1 million. So just hold that number in your head. For the top AI startups, their revenue per employee blows them all away. It's at 2 million or 3 million revenue per employee because they're using AI for every task. And we've never seen that level. These are small teams, just 20 to 30 people that are outproducing a traditional company a 10x in revenue per employee. Caveat. There's so many other ways to measure a business success, and revenues is one key one, the one that the market cares about, but we have to look holistically at the company. So that's what I think about the role that HR has with systems, leadership, and then thinking about the business.
And then from the vantage point that you have, like you mentioned, Llama Lounge and all of the companies that you're seeing, and then just the events that you are tracking that you don't even have time to go to. What would you say the chunk is around sort of like new ways of working and the future of work itself versus like delivery of a service?
Today, people are just rolling out the technologies. The use cases are still being developed. We just don't see as much alignment to business. We're just year 2.5 in. So it's still very early where people are trying to understand the tools, and the tool sets are changing so fast. We're still a long way off. I'm definitely seeing a lot of growth from management consulting firms and system integrators, and I'm sure that the HR leaders here are getting the knocks on the door from those groups offering 7-figure deals to roll out AI. So that's what I'm seeing.
Mhm. And we mentioned a little bit about managing a team of agents. What other new skills are humans going to need to thrive in this workplace that's being transformed by AI agents? They need to manage people. They need to manage, they need to know how to manage agents. What else do they need to do for this AI agent world?
I struggle to see beyond 2 years. In fact,
Mm.
our advisor at Blitzscaling Ventures, where I'm a full time investor, is Reid Hoffman. who's on the board of Microsoft and founder of LinkedIn. And he told us at dinner he can only see 2 years out. So I can certainly see
Mm.
less than he can. And I do think like this AI agent is the topic du jour, but it's only going to roll out for a few years. And these agents will autonomously learn the business processes and complete those tasks on their own. And you'll have a human observing it, like managing them, but not needing to set it up like we are today.
Mm.
So it's really hard to tell what that looks like. I am a father. I have 3 children, and I think about what skills or hard skills, soft skills will they need in the future. And right now, I think it's leadership skills will be the most important, or entrepreneurial skills in the future,
Mhm.
even inside of a company. So it would basically look like this: I need to find a problem, I need to solve it, and then I need somehow to get rewarded, and
Mhm.
repeating that process over. I don't think it's a hard skill like 10 years ago to said you got to learn coding and probably need to learn Spanish or in Chinese. I don't think those are the skills now. So I think this level of intrapreneurism or entrepreneurism is probably the key skill set going forward.
I agree with you. And I also think, um, I, I had a powerful conversation last week for the show. And one of the things the person said was that, um, for anyone who feels that their role is at risk or sort of seeing that, it's really about, they said, get to the front line,
Yes.
get to the problem.
Mhm.
If you're in the middle, then and in a role that has a significant amount of things that you can look at today and be like, I'm going to be an agent for that. Then it's like really like get to the front line, find the problem for customers or for the company or whatever that you are really excited about and start solving that problem. And that's where, that's the place to go.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then one final question before we move into rapid fire. Um, and it's such a delight to talk to someone who has such a great vantage point. Like you and I are both super nodes. And so we look at a lot of things. And, I've been looking at a lot of research on it's one of those things that's like this technology isn't just changing work, it also is changing human behavior. And so, you know, um, and I think we're learning how to use it. And so, I actually think it needs to be designed like the primary agent that you're dealing with needs to be one that actually understands humans. Um, and there's some things we need to know, like, you know, um, maybe there's processes that we put in place for, um, you know, uh, you know, really maintaining our neuroadaptability and other things like that. Like we have to learn how to use this technology, and it needs to be good for humans. Um, I don't think that's going to be hard. It's just something we have to pay attention to and design for.
Totally agree. And you and I have been friends and colleagues on these types of topics in tech for a number of years. And yes, I agree with those values.
Yeah, yeah. Primary agents are going to be human tech. Um, and human tech, by the way, everyone, is technology that actually works well with humans. Okay, so our last section, we love to close with rapid fire. And so I'm just going to ask you a question and a series of questions. And then you just say the first thing that comes to your mind, and
Okay.
it's pretty quick. Okay. Voice, text, or visual agents, which will dominate the future?
Voice.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Okay. What's the very first task you would hand off to an AI agent?
Sort the data.
Mm. Yeah, get your data together so you can actually use AIs.
Yeah, and before completing an action, it's like, and that's typically what enterprises are doing. They put the agents to look at the existing data. It's the safe play. You like don't connect it to system to complete anything. So that's like the first step.
Yeah. And what's the coolest use of AI you've seen in a movie or a TV show?
Try to forecast what will happen in the future.
Like, so that's one, a historical one or a future one?
Oh, that would be many sci-fi movies try to use AI to determine like what could happen in the future and then try to narrow that down.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll, I, of course, love the movie Her. And but also, I'm excited about AI helping humans really solve our biggest challenges for, the planet. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode. A big thank you to Jeremiah for sharing your experiences and your insights with us. And everyone, thanks for joining the conversation. And we will catch you next time.
Did you know our podcast is only one part of the AI+HI project? We also host an annual event featuring visionaries from the worlds of business, tech, and HR. Plus, we publish a weekly newsletter that includes topical articles and the latest research from SHRM, all to help you stay ahead of the trends. To sign up, just make your way to shrm.org/AIHI. And you can also follow SHRM on social media for even more clips and stories. Like, share, and tell us how you're innovating towards a brighter future.
SHRM.